Today, we're not just talking about a cricket superstar. No, we're digging into a blueprint for greatness, exploring how raw talent was hammered and forged into legendary status, pretty much by sheer force of will. This is the story of the architect of discipline, the Virat Kohli way. So, we're going to start with a quote from the man himself. Self-belief and hard work will always earn you success. It sounds simple, right? It's powerful. It's the kind of thing you'd see on an inspirational poster. But as you're about to find out, the real story is what happens when that self-belief gets pushed to its absolute limit. And hard work means you have to completely tear yourself down and rebuild from scratch. But come on, was it really that simple? Is that all it took? Of course not, because behind every simple quote like that, there's a really complex story of struggle and, frankly, sacrifice. So let's get into the real story. First up, let's just take a second to look at the man he became. The global icon at the very peak of his powers. This is the Kohli the whole world recognizes today. I mean, today, when you hear the name Kohli, you don't just think cricket, you think elite athlete. We see that unbreakable focus, the insane physical conditioning, that mental toughness. But here's the key. This version of Kohli wasn't just born this way, he was built. So to really understand the architect, we have to go back and look at the original blueprints. Let's wind the clock all the way back to his early years, a time that was defined by both unbelievable promise and some pretty major problems. So here was the fundamental problem with the young Virat Kohli. On one side of the coin, you had this undeniable, just explosive talent. A player who could win a match all by himself. But on the other side, you had this frustrating inconsistency and a fitness level that just couldn't cash the checks his talent was writing. And you saw this conflict play out on the field all the time. He'd score this absolutely breathtaking century, and everyone would say, there's a future legend. But then, that brilliance would be followed by a string of low scores. The potential was so obvious it was blinding, but that consistency you need for real greatness, it just wasn't there yet. So what changed? Every great story has those moments, right? Those turning points where a hard decision is made and a totally new path is chosen. For Kohli, these moments were, they were forged in fire. His transformation didn't just happen because of one thing. It was sparked by two very different, very powerful events. The first was a deep personal test of his character, a moment of just profound loss. The second was a professional one, a very public test that forced him to look in the mirror and face a hard truth. So get this. During a crucial domestic match, a teenage Kohli gets the news overnight that his father had passed away. In the face of just unimaginable grief, he makes a choice that would honestly define him. He went back to the pitch the next morning to save his team from defeat. It was in that moment of incredible pain, that the world really got the first glimpse of his unbelievable mental strength. The second turning point came a bit later, after the 2012 IPL season. He talks about looking at himself in the mirror and just being disgusted with what he saw. He finally realized that all the public criticism about his fitness, it wasn't just noise, it was the truth. His raw talent had gotten him this far, but he knew, deep down, it wasn't going to get him to the very top. It was time for a revolution, a complete overhaul. So he made a decision. But, a decision is nothing without action. This next part is all about the how, the specific doctrine of discipline he created to literally build himself into a champion. He basically created a brand new blueprint for himself, and it was built on three core pillars. First, radical diet control. He famously cut out all his favorite foods, like butter chicken and sweets. Second, an absolutely intense physical training program that completely reshaped him into a world-class athlete. And third, the thing that holds it all together. Just unwavering, non-negotiable, daily discipline. And let's be really clear here. This wasn't a 30-day challenge. It wasn't some quick fix. This was a slow, grueling, day-by-day transformation that took years. It was about making the hard choice, not just once, but every single day, until that hard choice just became who he was. And the results? Oh, they were undeniable. His performance didn't just get a little better, it skyrocketed. That frustrating inconsistency was gone, replaced by this relentless, almost machine-like hunger for runs. Records started to tumble, and he transformed from this gifted but flawed player into the most dominant batsman and an inspirational leader in the entire sport. So after all that, what can we all take away from this incredible story? This brings us to the core lesson of the Virat Kohli way, and it's a lesson that goes way beyond the cricket field. It's this: talent is just the starting line. It is not the finish line. His journey is undeniable proof that your natural gifts will only take you so far. It's the work you put in when nobody is watching that truly defines who you become. And this quote right here, it gets to the absolute heart of it. The discipline wasn't some chore for him. It was fueled by this intense, burning passion to be the best. That passion is the engine that drove him through every single workout and every single tough choice he had to make. His story proves that we are not defined by where we start. Through that relentless discipline and consistent daily effort, we all have the power to redefine our own potential, to become the architects of our own future. And that really just leaves us with one final question for you to think about. Kohli chose his fitness and his career, but the principle, that's universal. So just take a second and ask yourself, where in your life could a little more discipline build a much better future?